one thing that you need to understand as leaders of your organizations, as business folks, as financial experts, as agriculturalists, there is change coming to every aspect of the international system. What you think you know about the world, what has been correct for the last 70 years, is about to become completely wrong. My job is to use geography, demography, and energy to chart a picture of the future, give us a roadmap, the problems and the opportunities we're to be seeing in the not too distant time frame. For the past 12 years, I've been working in global intelligence as the chief analyst, stitching together the various forecasts from every region of the world, every economic sector, putting them together into a network where they overlay and integrate, allowing companies to see how their piece of the puzzle in their region, in their sector, on their time frame interacts with the global whole, or more likely, how the global whole is going to be determining what they're going to be worried about and taking advantage of in the years ahead. I'm going to give you the picture of how the world got to where it is right now and how it will be unfolding in the next few years. The global system is undergoing the most extreme change that we've seen in at least the last 2 generations, and very possibly since the beginning of the deep water era back in the 16th century. The rules by which the world operates are changing, or perhaps more accurately, they're changing back. We've been living in an era of free trade in which everybody, no matter who they are able to trade with everybody else, regardless of national origin. This is something that has only been around with us in the post-World War II era. The era of free trade is coming to a close, and so it's important to understand what's going on in the world right now, what trends are cresting just as the shift in geopolitical positioning is changing. And understanding those changes, seeing how it's rooted in the power of place, allows companies, individuals, even countries to start to chart their own futures. Moving goods from A to B in water is about 1/15 the cost of moving them on land. And the United States has roughly 16,000 miles of internal navigable waterways. That's more than the rest of the planet put together. We're the only country with major populations on both the Atlantic and the Pacific coast. So when the Europeans are in recession, we trade with the Asians. When the Asians are in recession, we trade with the Europeans. And when we're in recession, we share it with the world. There are 3 factors in play. First of all, the reassertion of geopolitics as the rules by which the world operates. Second, there's a global demographic inversion, which is going to change the capital structure of the planet. Third, shale energy is making the United States energy independent, which will change everything about how the Americans execute foreign policy and interact with the world as a whole. A lot of the geopolitical chicanery of the last 50 years has been about the Americans making sure that the energy can get from where it's produced to where the lights are. If you remove that, if you put the energy where the lights are, the political math in the United States changes. We're now to the point that 50% of all the natural gas produced in the United States is from shale. A year ago, New York City used absolutely no natural gas. This year, as of right now, it's using 9 billion cubic meters, more than Belgium. They switched from fuel oil to natural gas almost overnight. As the transition happens, everyone should care because it's going to affect everyone. But 3 specific sectors are going to be impacted more deeply and on a more sustained basis. The first is finance, the second is manufacturing, and the third is agribusiness. And the top right there, that's the Eurozone as a whole in 2030. The financial crisis that we've seen in Europe, forget the politics, forget the institutions, forget the bailout infrastructure. From a pure financial point of view, Europe can't survive another 10 years because there's no money to pay for everything.
Will any of these fixes work is the question. Let's bring in Peter Zeihan, Vice President of Analysis at Stratfor, a global intelligence company.
We've just how Libya could play out for investors. Joining me now from Austin, Texas, Peter Zeihan. Mr. Zeihan, welcome to Bloomberg's Bottom Line. Thanks so much for joining us.
You said that Southern Europe will never have economic growth again. That's a serious statement, and the thing is, I'm inclined to believe you, but why do you believe that?
Most of the economic growth in a modern economy comes from the mass purchases of people in their 20s and their 30s, people buying homes and cars for the first time and raising children. Southern European demographics are pretty inverted. There are actually more 40 and 50-somethings in most of these cultures than there are teenagers and 20-somethings. 4 things are changing for Mexico that are going to make it the economy of the future. I think this is going to be the fastest growing economy globally for the next 30 years. So, what's going on in China right now? Well, back when the recession hit in 2008, export orders dropped to the floor. They were actually a negative contributor to growth in China that year. A lot of us are watching Canada to see what happens with tax policy here when you move from a system of relative capital richness to a system of relative capital poverty, really in just the next 10 years. While the world is complex and while the world is going through an unprecedented change that has not happened in the professional lives of anyone who I speak with, it doesn't have to be a mystery. Geopolitics is knowable, demography is understandable, and shale is already here. The combination of these 3 factors are going to change the financial world. They're going to change capital availability. They're going to be changing how capital can be applied in every country of the world. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or a bonds trader. The future for everybody is changing. The intersection of geography and demography is making bright spots and black holes. And understanding how the two overlay, how they interact, will determine which industries will do well in which countries on which time frames. If you understand that, you can prepare for it. You can own it.